Before we get started tonight with our meeting, I'd like to have Commissioner Eric Langston lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll say a prayer for us.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this wonderful country you give us to live in. We ask that you would be with all of us tonight as we go through the business of the city of Port St. Joe. Guide us and direct us in everything we do. We ask in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen. Call this meeting of the Port St. Joe City Commission to order. Consent agenda here. We only have the one from our regular commission meeting on 3/6. Need a motion to accept?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Bezetta, a second. Second, Commissioner Langston. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Okay, Port St. Joe Redevelopment Agency.
In our last PSCRA meeting, we talked about a lot of improvements for downtown, some different ideas this year, next year's budget year, and improving Reed and doing some things with parking. And one of the things we talked about was the maybe possibly getting the city to consider creating a parking ordinance for downtown. After talking with a lot of the business owners along Reed Avenue and also some of the side streets like 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and almost all of our business owners agree we have an issue. As you know, I visited High Springs, which is a very similar sized town with Port St. Joe, a while back, and they had the same issues that Port St. Joe has. They created this parking ordinance. It's been very successful for them. I think the attorney has already looked at some of the language in their ordinance, and I think Jim has as well. So anyway, I guess we're just here to consider if the city would consider discussing, workshopping, a parking ordinance for downtown Port St. Joe.
Yeah, Bill, at that meeting, we discussed about buying a lot or 2 lots for off-street parking to have extra room. I think consensus of the board was at that time, we've got parking spaces unutilized right now that if folks are not going to use those, why should we spend another couple $100,000 on a lot nobody's going to use? And I think we all decided that maybe the ordinance should come first, like chicken and the egg, but thought maybe the ordinance was going to have to come first. And then if we run out of space with an ordinance, then let's talk about buying some property.
Yes, sir.
So I think that's where we are in my mind.
And I feel the same way. I know downtown, it's a nightmare for a merchant. Someone was telling me the other day, somebody went over to, maybe it's a store to see if they could buy some office supplies. Because they couldn't find a parking place to go to Ramsey's. So they went around the block 3 times and couldn't find one. Well, we get these 15 or so people that are parking there, that work there. When they go to Walmart and Sam's, they don't get to park right at the front door.
Yes.
They have to walk a little bit. It wouldn't hurt them to walk a little bit here. I mean, I can feel the frustration. My place down on my end, I don't have any problem. I don't have many people coming in my place anyway. But the ones that do, that depend on selling their goods, and then because somebody doesn't care, and I'm gonna use that word, doesn't care enough to tell their employees, don't park on Reed. I told mine, I definitely told mine, they don't park on Reed. They don't even park on the side streets. My secretary, the lady that works with me, she parks on one side spot. The rest of them park down there in the grass. Well, I told them that's where they had to park at.
Yes, sir.
And that's how, if we had these other merchants that would do the same thing, to be courteous to their fellow merchant, it would solve its own problem.
Yes.
But evidently, some, not all, some merchants just will not tell their employees to do that. And to me, that means they just don't care.
Yes, sir.
They don't care. They don't care if you lose a sale today.
Yeah.
Because they want to park right in front of right across the street in front of your place Why don't they park across the street in front of their place?
Right.
If you're gonna park in front of your own parking places. But we gotta do something, I agree, I mean, and I think an ordinance is looking like the way to go. But I'm just one person, so we'll listen to what everybody else has got to say, but it is a problem downtown for our merchants. I do know that personally.
And we are definitely getting more busy. Then with Uptown Raw Bar coming in, nice new facility, and also the brick wall has just opened up, and it's been crowded there. If you notice, the Village of Rich parking lot behind the brick wall was full this afternoon. It's getting utilized finally, but we're just getting more and more busy downtown, so we need to get ahead of the curve.
One thing we need to be extremely careful is if we pull individuals off Reed, where are we gonna put them? I mean, I know we got side streets, we've got Dr. Joe parking lot, we've got Billy Joe Rich parking lot, but we're gonna run out of space, no doubt. And I believe it's gonna happen quicker than we think. So I believe we do need to be looking at purchasing something.
Well, what do we want to do? We want to ask the attorney to.
Can I make a
Yeah,
couple
that's,
comments?
absolutely, that's what I'm looking at.
I've read through the ordinance that Bill got from High Springs, and the problem is not writing an ordinance. I could write this ordinance in 15 minutes. It's going to be the enforcement mechanism.
Right.
Now, they have, in this, it's set up through the clerk of the court and the county court system. So an officer writes a ticket, you go to court. If you want to contest it, you go in front of Judge McFarland. We, as far as I know, in the history of this town, there's never been a ticket written by a city officer, code enforcement officer, ever, that's ever been enforced through the county court system. So we'd have to go set that all up. What we have now is a code enforcement thing, and when I used to do it, someone would come in front of me, Richie says there's a violation, we have a hearing, I decide that they have violated it, and I give them 30 days to fix it, or they're gonna be fined $25 a day until they do. Well, our enforcement teeth comes from the fact that if they don't fix it, and there's that, we go ahead and file and record a lien on the property, and that violation, the penalty just keeps accruing, and there's a lien on the property. Now, if it's homesteaded, we might not see anything from that for a few years, but eventually, if the person passes away or they want to sell it, we get paid that money. If you got cars, and I know the problem is the employees of the merchants, so they're local, so, you know, we could do something, writing tickets and giving it to people from Alabama, I don't know how much that's gonna do. Our problem is enforcement and how we set that up. And I don't know if I have to look into it, whether it's worth it for this one particular parking ordinance to create the whole county court, clerk of court procedure for that. I don't know. I'll look into it.
It might be worth talking to the city manager down in High Springs, because it seemed like he kind of indicated to me when they created the ordinance and placed the signage, the problem went away. That they had to basically, a couple of warnings was all it took. I think that's what he indicated to me, that the actual ticket writing.
But you gotta have a system set up.
Sure, yes.
Someone writes a ticket, and
Yes.
someone says, I didn't do it. I wanna contest this ticket. Well, who are they going from?
Right. I agree.
And who's gonna be the one actually walking down the street enforcing it too? That'd be another issue we're gonna have to look into.
I'd like to be able to follow up on that a little bit, dig a little deeper into the enforcement issue and that, because I assume we probably, once again, need to workshop this thing and talk about it, but I honestly think we're gonna have to do an ordinance. I do.
There's other communities in South Georgia that I looked online, I didn't go there, but I looked online, had some of the same ordinances. It seems like 3-hour time limit is kind of the standard, because 2 hours is not really enough for a bunch of ladies to have a nice dinner and walk and shop. So 3 hours, I think, is kind of where they settle.
And all I'm saying is this has never been done before. I'm not saying, maybe it's the time. Maybe it's the time we set up an enforcement mechanism with the county court system and the clerk. Maybe it's time to do that. I don't know. Maybe we're getting busy enough where we need to.
Yeah,
You just gotta do something.
absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not particularly crazy about the metered system. Something needs to be done. I I'm not so sure I wanna go that route just yet.
They had a place I went, they had one big meter and about every 2 blocks or something. You go there and put your credit card in there, you get a little ticket, put it on your dashboard, and then of course you're gonna have somebody
Someone walking.
hired walking, so you shoot yourself in the foot by having to hire another person versus, I don't know. I'm not sure buying another lot's gonna help.
I'll say it one more time. We get cooperation out of the owners, the problem will go away. If you don't get that, you don't even get to go away if you have ordinances. Because they don't care, as I say, they just don't care.
I will say this, about a year and a half ago, Ronnie and I went to every single business on Reed Avenue. And almost everyone pretty much agreed to not park in front of their business, with a couple of exceptions. So what happens over a week or two, a couple of exceptions still park. Everyone sees it, they go back to parking on Reed. So it's not, I think for the most part, people will cooperate. We're not talking about visitors at all here. We're talking about employees.
Well, I know the one new business that just opened requires their employees to park over the Baptist Church parking lot, which is, we have a co-op agreement with the church to, that we can park there anytime except during church services, weddings.
One of the things I'm talking about with Mr. Smallwood is he's doing a proposal right now for some stuff we're doing on Reed and some side streets on resurfacing and restriping. To also talk to DOT about some traffic calming signalization on 3rd Street. Maybe a different street, but 3rd Street's probably the primary street we're thinking about to get pedestrian traffic back and forth across 98, like they have at Beacon Hill and places like that.
Anything else?
What do we want to do going forward, man?
Well, we want to push forward with something.
Yeah, I agree.
Uh,
Bill, you're gonna talk to them a little more about the enforcement.
I'll get more
thing.
information. I'll get the information to the attorney that's got all the contact. He was a very experienced city manager. He used to work for like St. Augustine. He retired, took that job at High Springs, so he has a wealth of knowledge.
Could you maybe relay some of that information to Clint and let him maybe put a draft ordinance of some sort together, even including the, of course you got to include the enforcement part of it.
Right.
But so it'll give us a starting point of something.
And I go talk to the clerk and the county judge and see what we would have to do to put something like that in the play.
You guys wanna talk about real quick about the parcels that are available?
Sure.
Sure.
Because I know you mentioned one just a second ago. I've been speaking with David Rich, that owns a corner parcel on Williams Avenue, and I've got it in front of you guys. He's got 6 lots. He's asking $80,000 a piece for the lots, which I believe is a little high. But it needs some work for a parking lot, and we couldn't pay more than a appraised value, so we'd have to get an appraisal on it. So, but that's what we're looking at on that. And I know you had.
There's a couple more. Of course, George Duran has a nice piece of already paved parking next to his building over there, but I think he's been actively doing some other stuff with his building right now. I'm not sure what he's thinking. I know there's quite a few cars parking there already, so that is.
Oh, every day?
Yeah.
And then there's a lot between Sand Dollar and the dive shop. That's probably 26, 28 cars, space for that there, that's for sale. And then there's one more piece that was mentioned to me between the stormwater pond for CDS and David Langston Drive. Now, I haven't laid out a parking lot on it, but it is unimproved property. I'm sure St. Joe owns it. But you would just cross 1st Street to get to Reed Avenue. It's not being used for anything right now.
Also,
It's not a stormwater pond?
No, there's a defined pond, and there's a
Okay.
tract of land between the road and the pond that you could probably Probably get 30 cars there.
Also, there's a parking lot that was, corner of, Williams and First. That used to be Kerrigan's
Oh, yeah.
office. That's,
Isn't that Mark's Insurance still?
Mark Insurance is in it now.
Yeah. I think
I
Billy
wonder
Carr.
if you, there's not many cars are parking there. I wonder if you can work out an agreement with somebody like that.
Yeah.
That, you know. But,
I hate to sound like a dead horse, but people want to use them when you build them.
Yeah, well, if you're gonna move people off Reed
Then
Avenue,
you gotta have to have it.
you've got to have it.
And I also like to say that you can't, I don't think you can consider moving them just off of Reed. I think you can't, if you move them just
Yeah.
off of Reed, they're gonna
Side
put
streets.
Crazy Fish out of business.
Yeah,
We need to
right.
move them off of Second to Fourth.
And I'm not necessarily saying moving people off. I mean, it's just, we've got to have other options.
Right.
We need handicap parking on Reed Avenue. I mean, that's greatly needed. I did also want to mention that David Rich said he'd be willing to do some owner financing too.
How about potential leasing?
Possibly.
With us doing the improvements.
Yep.
You could get by with striping and parking stops and cleaning up a little bit, for David's.
How much money we talking?
Well,
80 times
it's 480 and then, but I think it's more realistic around 360-ish, maybe even lower than that, depending on an appraisal.
and you're talking about side streets from 98 to Williams probably, restricting parking there.
That's open for discussion. I was thinking from 98 to the alley, like behind Ramsey's. Because you have the
Yeah.
laundry basket.
Yeah.
The laundry basket has people, their customers pull up there between the alley and Reed. And you wouldn't want to force all the shop owners to take all those spots in the laundry basket. So you got to really think about that whole zone. Anything else? Just keep pressing forward and try to come up with some.
All right, thank you, Bill. I am gonna allow anyone from the audience just a couple of minutes if they'd like to speak on this issue. Come on up. Write your name down.
Sure.
Please print. Go ahead. Sometimes we get autistic.
No, not that bad.
Philip and Renee Carroll, 219 Reed Avenue. First of all, parking meters for this situation is a waste of time and money. You're really not even targeting your violators, as you know, we like to refer to. But parking meters and buying a parking lot, eventually, yeah, you're going to need it.
It's gonna be needed.
That's no doubt. But if you just target the 25, 30 cars that are what what the crux of the matter is, what we're discussing here, you really have enough side street parking to flush these folks off of Reed Avenue. And the 3-hour
They're just
parking
gonna
limit?
move their cars every 3 hours. I mean,
They'll get tired of doing that.
yeah.
Jim said Hot Springs, now he researched it pretty good and they're very happy.
We'll
Well, that,
see, we'll see.
it's a beginning, it really is. And it maybe people will take better notice than the letter last year, which lasted
Yeah.
2 days, and everybody lit right back into their own little safety places, safe places.
I don't want to meter our tourist people here. I don't want to meter them. I really don't. At this stage of the game, where we are now in Port St. Joe, I think we have enough parking on Reed. If we can get the employees to get off of Reed. We're sending you pictures every day. We're sending to both.
Yes, I get
pictures.
them.
Yes.
9 hours in front of your store, clogging up your park.
Talk to me,
And
people.
we're
Y'all gotta talk
asking,
to us.
we're
We had that a while
asking
ago.
them. He pulled up, and I said, oh, Kevin, please don't. I'm moving in a few minutes. 5.5 hours later. That's a lot of customers that could have come into our store. Then we have, it's just all of them. It's just all, we need to set up where the employees that park, we come early, we have to unload. They just get out of the car and go in. He's taking his break in his car. and still taking a parking spot so.
Not to lose their
Not to lose his
parking
parking
spot.
spot.
And we,
I kid you not.
and again-
It's right in front of us.
I think last meeting, we told you the measures that we're taking. The folks that are working at Hannon are getting in at 8:30 and 9 and parking next to our building to clog the parking spots and then moving at 11
And we're doing
and
it
around
now.
back in the alley so our customers can park.
Now we're doing it. Now we have to park in front of our store.
Until
so
all
they
the
don't
waiters
park.
and all the
They're all
cashiers
in,
get,
and then
you
we move our
know,
cars.
and then we go and have to move our
Right.
cars again, which it is fine.
We'll
But
keep doing it.
But here's the scenario, I'm not sure about First Street, Third and Fourth, but on our block, if the main perpetrators get in at 9 o'clock and it's a 3-hour parking, and at 12 o'clock, and I call somebody at 12:01, you've got 5 cars in front of our building and across the street that's been there for 3 hours and a few minutes. How long is it gonna take for someone to come up and write that ticket? And if they do write the ticket or make someone move and give them a warning, they're just waiting on another, they're gonna circle the block till another spot comes and they're good for another 3 hours.
The
I mean,
3 hour.
and then if I call, which I don't mind calling, because it's my livelihood now, I don't mind calling at all. You know what a frayed relationship we have now is gonna be?
He's been pushed, we've been
Once-
threatened.
Once
and
they, once folks find out that I'm informing that they parked 3 hours and 10 minutes, I mean, the enforcement is gonna be the tough. I think you're making a lot of people, a
Flat
lot
out,
of extras
if
get
no
rid of these
employees are
25 cars.
So, I mean, Philip, you're singing to the choir, you know that.
Okay,
You're singing to
well,
the
I
choir,
just
we
have to
understand,
reiterate.
We're just
but
trying to figure out how to-
what is your solution?
All employees off of Reed Avenue.
How do you do that?
Tickets.
Some type of sticker system, make the sticker go in
Do
your
you
car
have a police
somehow.
officer go into it and make sure they're in there? What if they're on Reed Avenue for something else? What if they're not at work? What if the one guy that's at the Peppers
Enforcement's
goes
the
to the
problem.
gym all the time? So he's not Peppers, he's at the gym. It's gonna have to be like an investigation, each ticket that you write.
It's tough.
No, it's.
Other, get a list of all the employees and designate their parking spots and off street somewhere. I don't, I don't envy your position here, but unless you make it,
Across the board. So
Target
nicely, Kevin, please don't park there. I'm moving in a few minutes. 5.5 hours later, how many customers could have come, right in front of my door, could have come, you saw the picture, could have come into my store.
more and more customers come in saying, I wanted to come in and see what you had in you, but I circled 3 times.
It doesn't make for good business.
I told you guys about the lady from St. George who came to buy a dresser, couldn't find parking, bought it at Tiffins in East Point.
That was thousands of dollars worth of purchases,
And
didn't she do? No.
she's a good customer.
Well, we're gonna work on it, I'll get all the
Right.
promise you, we're trying to get our heads together and get our heads around this thing and figure out what the best way to handle it. And all I promise to you,
I wanna help.
we're gonna get it done.
But if
So
you're
just be
working out,
patient with us
I
and
don't
we'll.
know. I
Not
don't
gonna
know.
happen.
Season's coming up, that's, you know,
Season's here.
It's-
Season's here, guys.
we're,
Thank you.
thanks for your time,
Thank you.
thanks again.
I understand, I really do.
No, no.
Main purpose to get an agenda, but I think that
It's not time, whoa. It's not time, they were here on a specific reason. You have to wait and speak when the citizens' times to be heard. We're still having our meeting.
You said
Are you
anybody-
talking on this? No, I mean on this particular.
Yes.
Okay, you're talking on Reed Avenue. Okay, go
You
ahead,
said
Miss
anyone
Amy.
wanna come up and write your name down.
All right. I'm sorry, I thought you was on to talk about something else.
Amy Rogers, citizen of Fort St. Joe, Gulf County. I just need a clarification. Now, when you identified some land on First Street, some land might be available on First Street, and you mentioned a pond beside the CVS pharmacy, and I think it was said earlier it might be 30 parking spots over by near the pond. My suggestion was, have you considered on the other side of the pond, on the other side of the street where the telephone company parking space? Some people do park in that space a little bit after they're gone, but that's close to the road of Dr. David Langston's Drive. Talking with St. Joe Paper Company about that piece of parcel there.
I'm
Have
sure
you
they
considered, just wanna
Yes,
get some
ma'am.
clarification. Y'all have talked with them about
We
it?
will.
Okay, you will.
I
'Cause that-
didn't think about that one.
Mhm.
Is the phone company that owns that property?
Yeah, probably, yeah,
Sure.
this new company,
We got our lift
They
station.
lease it from somebody.
yeah, this new company, they up under
Yeah.
Consolidated Communications, I think that's the new name that they have. But, I think that'd be good, and then whatever you decide about these parking spaces, have somewhere, as a tourist turn in off of Highway 98 or somewhere down, some sign saying overflow parking space, wherever you decide as you're talking about overflow as a person going downtown, the people that doesn't know tourists coming in, and it's kind of crowded, that they could go in the back or behind some of the other places that you already have designated. Just a little suggestion,
Yeah.
to try to ease the complication that's already in place.
I know last year, John, we bought some, to put at those, I know Billy Joe Rish
Yes,
put one there, you put
Right.
one there at Dr. Joe's.
correct. Both of them have, yes.
So if they circle the block and see.
Yeah, you can see them pretty good.
Invisible.
Jamie, thank you. All right. Jim? Mr. Attorney?
Yes, Mayor. On the agenda this evening, I've been putting together the Kerrigan lease for that lot on Reed Avenue, and I didn't finish drafting that until, the first draft of that until about 1 or 2 o'clock this afternoon. I did email you all a copy of it. I don't know if you had a chance to get that. And there might be one up there.
Yes.
It's about an 8-page lease. I don't know if you want to read through and go over it tonight, or you guys just want to go ahead and take it back home, read it, and get back to me with your suggestions. Mr. Kerrigan has not seen this, although he said that, he was going to be very amicable to anything that pretty much we wrote out.
Yeah, I'd like to look it
I
over.
would too. I'd like to look at it, a little more detail.
I understand, so we'll just leave it at that, and if any of you have any questions, just contact me, and I'll be happy to talk to you.
What, was this discussed at the DRA, Downtown Redevelopment meeting last,
I believe it
Yeah.
was.
about building
About-
facilities, bathroom facilities?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to discuss it because I wasn't there.
Right.
Wasn't at the meeting. But, from understanding this, there's a 30-year, he's willing to do a 30-year lease, and we would build the facilities, and do we have a number as of right now about what
I
it
think
would
Bill
cost?
said $40,000 to $50,000, something along those lines.
Where, and is it a downtown redevelopment project?
Yes.
Yes.
But the city was going to lease the lot.
Okay. I do know that, well, from what I understand, that the Port Theater, from what I hear, is not gonna get their grant.
They're not.
And we budgeted $50,000 toward that.
Right.
So I wonder, is that what the idea is?
I don't think the idea was to take that money to build this. I think we already figured we had it in our budget already. And from my understanding, I feel like both entities are probably going to reapply for the grants for next year's cycle. So it's something we would have to consider if we wanted to, budget again $50,000 for the Centennial project and the Port Theater project. Downtown redevelopment did the Port Theater project, I think. The city budgeted 50 for the Centennial.
30 something, wasn't it?
Yes, it did get reduced down.
Yeah, but that's 10% of the 335,000 round figures, correct.
Okay.
So that's kind of, but I do feel like that we're, according to Bill, according to what I've seen, we're in pretty good shape. And I think we can afford to do it unless we spend it all on Reed Avenue.
Okay.
But I'm open to doing it. I think we have asset downtown.
That's all I had on that.
What else you got, Mr. Attorney?
Okay, so you guys just gonna get back to me on that?
Yeah, we'll get back.
And in the meantime, I'll contact Mr. Kerrigan and see what he says about it.
Okay.
All right, next on the list is, I don't know if you remember, but back in July of last year, we had a little kerfuffle with a company called American Forest Management, and with using the access road to get to Highway 71, they went around our freshwater canal. We were a little concerned about the danger to rupturing our canal. Back then, he said that the board just kind of agreed to let it sit because they did 2,000 acres already out there, and they had 100 acres left to go, and with about 3 weeks worth of work, and they weren't going to start until sometime in between November and March. Well, I just got the call last week that they want to start doing that again. He claims that they can be out of there in about 3 weeks, and it'll be at least several years before they have to go back out there.
Can we legally stop them?
I think I could legally stop them if the engineer or someone said this is an absolute imminent danger to the people of Port St. Joe and their drinking water. I think there might be their possibility. I'd have an argument to go forth and try and stop them. Without that, no, probably not.
I can tell you, and I've expressed this several times, that I believe it is an imminent danger to our water system. That's our main line. It's probably very fragile at this point with 18-wheelers loaded down going across it. We vote on it, I'm gonna vote no. I mean, it would be a catastrophe if we were to, that line would be crushed. I mean, it just would. So,
Well,
I stand the same the way we've spoke about it 4 or 5 different times. And I know you've got to deal with it.
Yeah, and I know, and I don't necessarily think of stopping from using this entrance point. Then they're still gonna have to drive all the way down next to it. And it's still the danger of falling into it.
The bottom line is all the easements that they have where the bridges were, they're gone now. They've deteriorated. And now they want to cross over right there where the pipe meets probably, I don't know, Clay, probably 10 foot within the ground, maybe a little bit shallower. And it's a concern of mine. And I mean,
They have other ways to get where they want to go though, right?
You gotta go to Dalkeith Road and then go all the way down to the freshwater canal.
Yeah, and then they're riding all the way next to it, all the way down. That's
What do we care? It's going to maybe cause all our residents in this town not to have drinking
well, I
water.
know, but it's still dangerous just riding next to the canal.
Dadgum if you do and dadgum if you don't. Huh? I hate to take the road.
Not only that, you're driving through a residential neighborhood in White City, I believe, to get from 71 to that. No, that's not the city, that's disrupting to those
And
people.
maybe you would know, but isn't that like a county access road? How they get out there?
it's a county road. I'm not sure what road that is. Is it Charles?
I can't.
Steve? Staff, you got any?
Is there a weight limit on Steeble? Or,
This residential road, I'm not sure it's.
the only thing I can think of, if it could be blocked from that, or regulated from that standpoint.
As of right this second, we've got a gate there that hadn't been cut or anything, the lockout.
No, but he's waiting for me to get an answer, and depending on that answer, we're probably gonna end up going. If our answer is no, we're not unlocking it. gloves will
I-
probably, the gloves will be probably coming off.
I feel uncomfortable letting them do it. I know that the state limit for a highway is 72,000 pounds, and lots of times they try to cheat a little bit on that. So it's gonna be some heavyweight stuff going across there.
It's not a good situation.
No, this puts us in a bad spot. We're here to protect the citizens of Port St. Joe,
That's what I'm talking about.
and so.
Any motion?
Yeah.
If it has any kind of danger that way it's gonna affect, our citizens,
We don't have a choice.
we don't have a choice but to have to find another, way to get down there.
I believe they have other easements there. There's just not a way to cross the waterway. Because they are deteriorating.
That's on them.
I agree. I mean,
Our job is to make sure that we're okay. I mean, I understand they need to get down there, but hey,
Well, they have a legal easement that says that they can. We might not be able to stop them. That's what I was saying.
but
We need
if something happens,
it's on us.
I mean, it'll be on us then, what we're supposed to do about it.
And if you go down, I've been down there and looked at it. If you go down there and look at it, it is a sharp turn where it's basically a U and it's a sharp turn where that, I mean, it could slide off, you know. I mean, if you put your eyes on it, you'd be more concerned.
So Clint, you saying if, we don't allow them to go down, they go down anyway, it still be, on us? I mean, if anything happens, we still have to.
Well, we're gonna have to, we'll be the ones dealing with it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But, what we would do is we would go ahead and put a lock on it. Now, we might be going back and forth with them, they cutting the lock, us putting the lock back on. Then we're gonna have to, if that ends up happening, we're either gonna have to sue for an injunction to stop them from doing that based upon the harm that could happen to the welfare and of the citizens of Port St. Joe if that did happen. Or they would have to sue us for an injunction to take the lock off. And it's gonna be one of those two things, so.
I'd rather them have to do that and finally just say, okay, go ahead and run across it.
That's up to you
Myself.
guys.
I think
I'll do whatever I'm told.
done deal as far as that.
That's up to you.
I'll make the motion, we deny the request.
We have a motion from Commissioner Brazil.
I'll say.
We have a second from Commissioner Lowry. Discussion from the audience?
Yeah, I just have a question.
Come on up. You guys got to come up.
Problem.
Oh, so now I gotta come up.
You got to come up, my man.
Oh, my goodness.
And
It
then
just,
print your name on that.
oh, my goodness. So now y'all get me down for everything, right?
We're going to be able
All right,
to look you up when we need to.
I'm just answering on this question that y'all just, what y'all just asked about, right?
Yeah.
Especially to the public working department. I guess, I see y'all going on philosophy, theory, point of view, but to get accurate on it, do we have somebody that's, like you just said earlier about engineer? Because they can give you the point to tell you exactly what is safe and not safe. I'm just answering on both points.
I'm an attorney, I'm not an expert.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying.
So I
So do we have
couldn't
somebody-
testify, I'd have to have somebody that would.
Well,
Clay.
I think Clay would be the better person to answer that from a structural standpoint, integrity, so.
Okay, so I guess that's the only way we're gonna get the answer then, right?
Yep.
So, because everybody else going on theories, right?
Yep.
And their own point of view and their mama and everything, but we wasting time, right?
Exactly.
Okay then, so I guess when you just get to the point, right, Mr. Langston? Right, okay then, so let's go on to the next agenda, let's get it right going.
Right.
All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Anything else, Mr. Attorney?
That is it for me, Mayor.
All right, Jim?
Yes, sir. The first item we have is in reference to the 10th Street Park. Commissioner Bezat want to talk to you tonight about it.
Yes, I'm the city representative on the 10th Street Park improvements. Since our last meeting, there's been a lot of input from the citizens that live along that area especially. And when that happened, the county decided to cancel our meeting that we were going to have this morning, wasn't it? And instead have a joint city-county workshop on April 11th. And I think their reasoning for that was that they wanted to see and hear from the city, what do we want? And so I wanted to put it on the agenda tonight so us commissioners could talk about it. I've been doing a little lobbying with some of the county guys, and I think they all agree that it's our project and they shouldn't be telling us where it goes, even though they've agreed to fund it. And so, you know, we've always said up here that we're here for the people and the people of St. Joe, and the folks that live along there are going to be most affected if we do what the conceptual plan is for that area. And so my thinking is, do you think if you live there, would you want it in your backyard? If you just bought a lot there 10 years ago and improved it with the idea that that's the way it's going to be, then that's fine. You went into that purchase with your eyes wide open. But in the meantime, we do a little switcheroo on you, like changing an ordinance. Then all of a sudden, you've got a big project in your backyard, and you didn't buy your property for that reason. So, with that being said, and I think most people have known the way I feel about it from the get-go, is that we have a blank canvas at across from or next to the Northwest Florida Child Development Center, across from the hospital, across from Gulf Coast, and we could do it out there. I've heard that back in the time the TDC had a consultant to go in, should we build a park out there, baseball park? The consultant came back and said no. But if you keep reading that opinion, it's a matter of interpretation. The consultant said no, it wouldn't be conducive to holding tournaments, which was supposedly going to bring folks into our community. Well, the consultant also said if we build this down there to have tournaments, it wouldn't be feasible either. So the county's whole intent was to help us improve our facility. It wasn't all just about bringing people into our city to play on these fields. Those fields have been there for over 60 years. To me, it looks like it's getting to be more and more of a safety issue, because everybody drives their car to the ball games now. No kids ride their bikes to play ball. They just don't do it. There are more cars there than ever. We'll have to close 10th Street. We'll have to close 8th Street. It's just, I think we need to step back and look real hard. I think we're going to have to dig a retention pond at the Field of Dreams. We're going to have to dig one on 10th Street. All that being equal, I think there's ways that we can use county and city staff to do some work like we're going to do down there. And I would just like our commission to think real hard about where we put this. And if we make a decision, we all, you know, when we go to that meeting, we need to have a unified voice of where we think the complex for our kids needs to be. If we go in there and I'm this way and this and that way and everything, I'm afraid we'll never get it done. And so I think the county's taking a step back. They want to know what we want to do. And so I think we need to discuss that and see if we can make up our mind what we do want to do. So, said enough. Thank you.
What happened to the idea of putting a field out there at the cemetery? St. Joe was giving us a plan out there. Why did
That
we go
before
away
my
from that?
time, but I don't know.
I know they were set up and they were looking at it, and for some reason they decided not to do it there. I mean, I would prefer to look there and see if that land is still available. It's a little.
We already own property, we'd have to buy property out there. We
Well, St.
already,
Joe owns it.
well, no,
Wow.
still have
I
to
just got
buy.
ideas going around. I don't know what we're gonna do.
You guys gotta keep in mind, though, to use that 5th cent, that
Yeah.
5th penny, it has to be tied to tourism, it has to be for promoting
They
tourism.
can,
Right.
I mean, you could shoehorn that in.
They-
You gotta be careful about how we're gonna just do it for local people.
they have always found a way to shoehorn projects in if they really want to, and I honestly believe that this one can be, at that place versus this place. Look, we're doing ball field. If they agree to ball field on 10th Street, why wouldn't it be applicable
No,
to out there?
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind it being out there, Field of Dreams. I mean, that's what it was for, wasn't it? I mean,
Yeah, well,
visually,
That's already laid out conceptually.
yeah, so I mean,
Well, except for, what did it cost, $7.5 million?
No, I
Close to
don't
the
think,
two?
it's just a smoke screen, I think. That's just my opinion, I'm not expert.
I just
What I
want-
heard, I was before my
I want to
time.
go back to where we made our original decision and to vote 5-0, and I don't believe you were on this board then, Commissioner Langston, to roll with doing the 10th Street project. But since I've heard some comments from the public, you're starting to hear a lot about that particular neighborhood and not wanting to close particular streets, and wanting it out there. I see pluses and minuses about having it out at Field of Dreams, but I'd really like to hear from the public here that's here that want to speak on it, because I've heard from both sides, and I've got positives and negatives about both places. Mainly expansion out there, room for expansion, and not so much room for expansion here in town. But I definitely, Mayor, if you're fine with it, I'd like to hear from some of the public.
Sure. Anyone out in the audience tonight that would like to speak on this issue?
All right.
And if you would,
We
state your
saw these
name,
plans.
Sign up.
state your name and sign in.
All right.
Who's your friend?
I'm Beverly Beard Maddox. We gave you, we're giving you our names too.
Okay, good.
We saw the plans for the first time 2 weeks ago when we came to this meeting. And when we left this meeting, we decided we needed to do something more because frankly, we were appalled. So we decided to we decided to put together a presentation. Now this presentation was put together to be a PowerPoint. I think I have enough for everybody. So you're going to have to use your imaginations. You're going to have to pretend that these things are going up on a screen. And sort of follow along with us if you would, because it's a visual presentation as much as an audio presentation. And that's a big part of why we wanted to do this, because we wanted you to see the visuals. I walk that walking path every day, and I want you to see what I see and experience what I experience. Come on, Beverly. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Beverly Beard Maddox. I am a third-generation resident of Port St. Joe in Gulf County, and I live at 809 Marvin Avenue.
And I'm Jill Beebe, and I've lived here for 19 months, and I live at 808 Marvin Avenue. There are many concerns with the 10th Street Park proposal. Do we need such a large complex? Is this the right place to put it? What would it do to traffic patterns?
Is this an appropriate use of bed tax funds? Who would pay for the upkeep and more? We would like to speak to what's on the land now. It is not empty.
This floodplain was all a wetland. A waterway was dug years ago for flood mitigation.
The waterway still has some functions of a wetland.
Wetland vegetation captures silt and absorbs nutrients.
Here, cattails grow in the deeper soil formed by the outflow of the current 1.5 block long culvert.
Vegetation grows where water drains from the backyards on the south side of Marvin Avenue. That vegetation is absorbing nutrients.
The plan replaces this with a retention pond. It does not address the elimination of 6.5 blocks of floodplain.
It will not be pretty.
More important is the green area along the waterway. This is a riparian buffer.
It filters runoff of silt and nutrients before it enters the waterway. No fertilizer is used or needed on this land.
Grassy waterways drain the surrounding land.
The end result, protection for our bay.
Instead, we will have parking lots and baseball fields designed to shed water.
Parking lots will shed pollutants. Baseball fields require fertilizer, and that will contribute more nutrient to runoff.
There are now over 100 mature trees on the land.
I counted them. Cypress/pine, magnolia, sable palm, oak.
Trees anchor the soil, provide shade, and benefit wildlife.
Here, a bald eagle sits atop an old black gum tree, Nyssa sylvatica, next to the waterway near 13th Street.
There are also basketball courts that are used almost every day, year-round, with shady spots to sit out a game. And that's located right by the Stackhouse, where children go every summer and spend all of their days there.
So what could we do without losing what we've got? Well, Dave Ashbrook mentioned last time maybe putting in frisbee golf. And if you use native grasses and bushes to divide off the fairways, that would even enhance the land. Or you could plant butterfly gardens and other native plant habitat. Install more bridges and unpaved trails to allow walkers to enjoy the area.
Plant young trees to eventually replace the old ones. Work with the Northwest Florida Water Management District to increase the effectiveness of the area as a riparian buffer zone and include the residents in future plans. Now you'll have to follow along with the music.
And why is it playing? I do not know. It has worked every time. Just a second. Joni. Well, it's not going to play, but it was really effective when it played because it's Joni Mitchell's Big Yellow Taxi. So we'll read it. They paved Paradise and put up a parking lot with a pink hotel, a boutique, and a swinging hot spot.
Don't it always seem to go that you don't always know what you got till it's gone?
They paved Paradise and put up a parking lot.
They took all the trees and put them in a tree museum.
And they charged the people $1.50 to see them.
Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone?
They paved Paradise and put up a parking lot.
Joni Mitchell originally recorded that song in 1970.
Haven't we learned yet?
Thank you all for hearing us.
Thank you.
All right. Good presentation, thank you. All right. Anyone else? Anyone else?
first of all, I would like to thank the city and the county. I live on the end of 20th Street cul-de-sac,
And your name?
Alice Gandy. And they came together and helped us with a flooding problem with the ditches laser, putting it down into the first ditch, not the flowing one on the other side of Knowles Road. And they finally got it done after 35 years, but I'd like to personally thank the heads of the water department, the sewer department, and the employees that did the work. They did a wonderful job. They lowered a sewer cap that was a yard up, and they lasered. So hopefully the water will flow down to that ditch. We'll find out when we have a lot of water. Anyway, if on parking, whenever you do any kind of parking, I would suggest semi-pervious parking. And do you know what that means?
No.
Okay. If it's concrete, there's a semi-pervious concrete where the rain will percolate down. Asphalt, it will run off. So then you'll have a flood problem or runoff into your bay problem. If it's shell or rock, it'll percolate down. See? So that solves a flood problem and an issue in your area with your water, be it salt or fresh or brackish. Okay. Now, we happened to be taking a class, and they told me about this at the last minute, what they were going to do. And so I went down to the county planning office, and I wondered, well, where else could this go? And I have a map right here. The pink is the city property. The white is St. Joe property. I mean, the green and the white, some of it's Warner and some of it is other, okay? So, I like the idea that you want to put it, I think, in this pink area. Here's the high school, junior high school. I think that's what you were suggesting.
It's right off 98.
Oh, right off 98. Okay, here's 98.
Right across from Gulf Coast, across 98.
Cool.
Large,
That
should be a
belongs to
large
St.
park.
Joe Corporation, except for this pink area.
That's ours.
That's all.
Okay, so that would be good, because you also have that Children's Head
Yes.
Start down there.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that would be great. Anywhere where it's close to where the schools are, you know, and within easy, safe access. Also, I would suggest not just your baseball fields. When I first moved here, over 31 years, I noticed there was a problem with children not knowing how to swim. How many of you commissioners know how to swim? Okay. When I first came here, there were a lot of adults that didn't know how to swim and a lot of children. And I would see them in the intercoastal waterway or on the beach hanging on to things, but they didn't know how to swim. And we lost a few do that. What I would suggest is a public pool, municipal pool. And I know there's a lot involved in that. But then in PE, the children will have a place to go to learn to swim or have swimming meets. You know, there's more than just baseball. There's swimming meets too. Then you could have a diving pool. You could have an area for children. So you can also open it up for people, not only just student rates, because you'd have to charge, but for adults or families. And little children would have a different rate too. Also for tourists to use, because you know that salt water's not always something they want to be in. Now we do have two public pool, well actually one public pool at the golf course, but that's small. And I even took diving, PADI diving lessons in there. But see, then there's groups that want to what they call jazzercise. They have to go all the way out there to do that. I suggest you get up with Sacred Heart because there's physical therapy that can be done in pools. Sacred Heart could help you, Warner's could help you. A lot of people, if you could get them involved and then grant money or whatever, you get a public pool to teach not only children, but adults how to swim. I have talked with both children and adults. I worked in the education system, okay? And I know, they don't know how they're afraid. They're afraid to swim. My mother-in-law grew up in White City. She was afraid to swim. She raised her children to be afraid to swim. That's just the way it is. But you have water surrounding you. In Florida, you need to know how to swim. First aid classes, private classes, PE classes. Teach them how to swim and save themselves. That's another good sport.
Yes, ma'am.
That's my suggestion.
Thank you, Ms. Palace. All right, Jim.
We have one more.
Oh, okay.
I'm back.
I'm Claire Morris, and my husband and I live on Marvin Avenue. We back up to this paradise. We have beautiful trees. We walk the park also, almost every day, walk the Port City Trail. And we talk to folks that actually come to the park. I mean, the Chamber and the Tourist Development has done a great job getting people on the trail. They know about the trail. They come from out at the Cape. They come from Mexico Beach, and they're walking the trail, and they're looking at the greenery, you know, and the open spaces. They're enjoying the birds, the lakes that were created. I mean, it's a beautiful park. And to think of putting a sports complex in it, it's just mind-blowing that it would be considered in that area. You have in Port St. Joe what other cities and towns are trying to create, a beautiful in-town park. They've had outgrown their parks, so they've had to move to the outside of town because they've outgrown the parks. And here we're wanting to go in and develop something where there is no room for expansion. If you decide to put soccer fields in later, you know, maybe this tournament and the baseball will really take off, and hopefully it does. It'll be really successful. You can't expand where it is, where it would be. Out on Field of Dreams, you can get soccer, you can put whatever you want in there, and it doesn't destroy. There are 24 houses that will back up to this. 24 houses that will have lights, will have people, will have all the noise right in their backyards. And I mean, it really, I invite all you, come out to our house and stand in my backyard and look at this view and then tell me how it's a good thing to put parking lots in there and to put this field in there. And there are a lot of people that also agree with us. They didn't know this was going to come up tonight. We were ready to go to the meeting this morning until it was postponed. But we're going to be there at that meeting too. But it's not about not wanting baseball. We want to attract the tourists. It's not in this residential area. It just doesn't work there. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right.
Can I make another comment,
Sure.
Mayor?
Sure.
We've been getting calls not from just folks that have bought and lived here. We've been getting a couple of calls, I won't say a lot, but a couple from folks that's lived around the ballparks all their life, and they're actually kind of excited that it might move. And if you envision it a little bit, like this nice presentation here, if you can envision those ballparks being gone, and that park going all the way from 5th Street to 20th Street, I think it would be an asset. I really do. And put ballparks out where Apalachicola's outside of town, Weewahecha's got theirs right outside of town. It works for them and a lot of other communities. And I would just like us, we need to be unified, guys. We need to be unified on what we want to do, or our kids are not going to get anything. They're going to have the same old field they've been playing on for 60-something years. So I would encourage us to think outside the box. Go see Mike McCourt, City Hall, let him pull out the Field of Dreams conceptual plan. Commissioner Langston may not know that there's been one drawn, how many years ago, Mike?
It was back in 2008 or 2009, I believe.
So about 10 years ago, there was one drawn up and they were excited about the Field of Dreams. And it's a nice layout. And we could start small, we could start with the baseball field. We could work pickleball, soccer, swimming pool, all that could be down the line. So I don't believe we're gonna get anything unless we all get on board with one concept. And we've got the next meeting, which will be April 3rd, before the 11th meeting. So I hope everybody will talk, think about it, and try to, you hear me, I'm lobbying for it. I'm asking you guys to get on board with stuff. So it doesn't matter if you like me or not. Let's think about the people and what's best for our community. And that's what I've been here for 10 years trying to do, and I'll keep doing it. That's all I'm gonna say, Mayor.
What's the board's idea of, if we do decide to go that route, the Field of Dreams route, on what we may do at 10th Street Ballpark? What are we gonna do with that infrastructure that's already there?
I would say, take it down.
Which I know it's gonna have to be used for a little while we're doing it.
Absolutely, and that's the perfect scenario. We can play ball while we're doing the other. Then I would say, take everything down, whatever infrastructure is there, from the light poles to the lights or whatever, we can use out there. We can use by hook and crook, try to save some money by that. But the bottom line is, tear everything down, leave the playground, of course, for the kids. Leave that, and let's say the bathroom facility there, everything else goes, and plant grass or whatever. Basketball court stay for the Stackhouse. I just think it's a perfect scenario to have it somewhere else.
All right.
Got one more thing, sorry.
Come on.
My name is Carol Weber, and I live on Hunter Circle.
Okay.
I have a great idea for this land that you're trying to figure out what to do with. If you were going to take down the ballpark equipment. What I can't figure out is that Port St. Joe has advertised very effectively that this is a dog-friendly community. What we don't have is a dog park. What we do have, we have people taking their dogs to the beach. And I've just read recently how concerned people are about dogs that defecate at the beach, people that don't clean up. And why they don't clean up is this. They're bringing their dogs to the beach to exercise them. They will many times have them off the leash so they can really run. And that's what dogs love to do. But there is no place for that. So think about this. Provide a dog park where the dogs can run. We'll get them off the beach. It's convenient for the tourists, and it solves the problem of what's happening to the beach because of dogs running there. I have a dog myself, and I know that when I'm traveling, and I'm looking in every community for a place that I can walk my dog that's appropriate. I don't want to stop somewhere and try to dog walk where people are going to be upset about it. So I think this is a really fantastic opportunity to provide that for people right here. So when you're trying to get all these plans together, think about that really seriously. We take our dog up to the park near Mexico Beach, and we have a great number of friends that we meet there. We walk together while the dogs are walking, we're walking and talking, And it's a great social opportunity as well. So if you don't have a dog, you may not realize that there's more to it than just, giving the dogs a place to run. So anyway, that's
We
my
could
thought.
also have a run at the Field of Dreams area for folks that come to ball games and want to bring their dog with them. They
Well,
have a
that's
place
true.
there, so that's a good idea, I think. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. All right. I'm open to a lot of things. I think the Ball Street project is just that, a project at this time that we're looking at, the city and the county's looking at. Nothing's cut in stone. We've agreed to a conceptual plan, but still nothing's cut in stone. It is still in the planning stages. There is any time at any point we can move and go somewhere else, if that's what the wishes of the citizens of the city is. We want to do what you want to do. But there are people that feel differently, and I just want to point that out. I had an email sent to me today, and I'll just read it to you. It's from a resident that lives right there on Morgan. Said, by the way, I really like the ball field layout and the fact that they are in my backyard with walking paths and stone water drainage. Already have ditch coverage from 8th to 10th, working good. One of my favorite things to do is watch the kids play ball. Thank y'all so much for your concern for them as they play in the safety and center of the city. P.S. Just be sure the stormwater is good. But I just read that because that's what I got on the phone today, and we are in the planning stages. Nothing's in stone. Nothing, and that's why we want to hear from the public. The county wants to hear just like the city does. And I'm sorry that the citizens weren't informed as much as they should have been. It was talked about, it was put in the paper a couple of times, but it was never like, we could have sent it on your water bill to every citizen. We do a lot of other things by water bill, telling people what's going on. We could have sent you a letter saying, hey, we're planning to expand this 10th Street ballpark. Maybe we wouldn't be here today if we'd have got started earlier, is all I'm saying. So I apologize and I'll make sure we try to do anything else. It gets out more than just in the newspaper or a few word of mouth, because everybody don't read the newspaper and everybody don't get around and talk to everybody. But I say, the only reason I read that just to say, there's people both ways. I'm open to anything. I want to do what's best for the citizens, and I'm sure everybody else up here wants to do the same thing.
I have a question.
Yes, sir. Come on up.
I don't understand why the fields that are there.
Just sign in for me, please, and state your name. Are you Mr.
Fred
Landry?
Morris.
Okay.
And I'll print it.
All right, yes, sir. Prepared to read it.
Why do those fields have to go? In the Field of Dreams, do you have a field there for the small children?
It's gonna be.
Nothing's there yet.
But in the plan, I think that's
Yes.
all there.
Yeah.
The T-ball, everything that's down there will be out there.
It doesn't have to be there, it can be right here for the neighborhood, for the children that are here in the neighborhood. The
Oh, I know
practice
what it stands
fields.
for, sandlot pickup games, that right, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, let the children, I'm sure they don't want to have to go out on 98 all the time, that's tournament. Right here, you can keep part of these fields here for the local children.
Yes, I agree with
You can have another basketball. I just don't understand why you say you have to clear it out.
Don't have to do
No,
anything.
that's useless to just go in there and clear it out. I have another question. Does this city have an evacuation center?
Center?
You mean somewhere you can go if in case of a storm?
Yes, sir. Honeyville,
We don't have one in the city.
not in the city.
I think the Red Cross opens up something in Marietta. That's about one of the closest.
Wouldn't it be smart to have one around here?
I don't think they'll let us because the flood here, it's all subject to flood. If we built one, you'd have to build it 20, 30 feet high probably, ground floor.
But
Seriously.
I don't understand why these fields would even have to be moved. I could see some of them having to go because of the maintenance and upkeep.
Right.
But for the local children, when school's out, I saw 4 little boys today on a bicycle riding up and down the road, just like I used to do when I was a kid, and that just tickled me to death. Give them that, where when school's out, I'm sure the parents have to work, they have babysitters and everything, they have somewhere for recreation for themselves.
It's a good point.
Let's just be smart when we do it. Let's just don't say we're gonna do away with all of this just to get them. That to me is not smart thinking. The children need it. I love to play ball. I played ball, football too. But we gotta keep the children, the small ones in mind. And you know as well as I do, that they have the travel ball. Let them travel, let them play. That's how they get good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Morris is a perfect example why we need to get everybody involved and hear everybody we can.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
because
always-
those young
there's
children,
always
they gotta have a
other-
place.
Always other ideas happen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
We thank you for your comment.
yes,
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
All right. Now, Jim?
Ready for the unless some,
Yeah, he's gonna bring it up. He gonna, you next.
I ain't gonna leave you out.
Don't leave it, don't, we ain't gonna leave you, brother, I promise you.
Yeah. Mine's in bright red, isn't it? All right.
Yes, sir. The next item is Commissioner Langston wanted to talk to you tonight about the Martin Luther King Jr. landscape.
Yeah, I talked to John, went down Martin Luther King, and we looked at some things in there, and I talked to Patrick Farrell about the design. I had a proposal from Patrick, but I wanted to, Commissioner Quinn asked me that, to help with the project. He had some ideas, so I was gonna wait and get with him and see what else he had in mind. But John and I went down to MLK, looked at some things, and saw some areas that we were gonna put. Patrick wanted to put some orange trees, some rose bushes. I think it'll look good once we get finished with it. But I want to get with Commissioner Quinn and figure out what kind of ideas that he has, and then we'll get back. But I did want to ask, could I get some BP funds or something to help with the project? I don't think, Patrick told me it won't be more than $5,000 for everything.
Won't be more than that.
Won't be more than $5,000, but Commissioner Quinn did want to do something, so if there's any extra, I'm sure that he'll come up with some funds to figure out whatever he decided to do.
I think he was impressed with the way it looks in front of Nathan Peters Jr.
Yeah, he talked to me about
area
that with
there.
rocks.
He liked that concept and maybe kind of mesh it in with you and John or Patrick's. I wouldn't have a problem with it. I would like to get maybe we'd get a concrete proposal with, so we can, take a look at it and we can decide, okay, we're gonna spend that, $498,352 or something.
Okay,
I'm definitely on board with it, especially with the city and county working together.
Yes, sir.
I'll get with Commissioner Quinn and I'll put it on the agenda for next week.
Great.
Sounds good.
That's it.
Mayor, the first time we have introduced this.
I'm not gonna sign that, I already, I don't have to do it again, right?
Are you talking on what he was just
Well,
talking
yes, I just
about?
wanna say, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, but I'm not gonna sign, I already did it, right? Okay, cause y'all got me double time.
Come on, sign it in, in case nobody
Okay,
heard it.
Mr., how you doing? Mr. Langston,
Yes, sir.
I noticed, I really appreciate, what the city's doing by putting the pipes down and everything. I think that's a great job. But at the same time, whatever they mess up, can they fix it up, the roads? Because,
what are you
I
talking
know,
about? Go ahead.
I'm talking about the way, like, where they put where they were fixing the pipes up in the road, how they just leave it, just gap?
Water pipe, the last one we did.
No, they haven't.
They didn't?
It just did, just a few, but what I'm saying is, whatever you mess up, that'd be nice if you just fix it up. I mean, you know, because a lot of people don't have Michigan tires. That's all I'm saying, all right?
Okay, I thought they paved everything.
No, they didn't.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about on Main Street, I'm talking about, they did a little job on, like you're going on 98, on Avenue 8, but if you're saying, but when it rained and messed up, you got a hole right back in it.
Okay, I think they paved the ones with asphalt on them there too. I rode by.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm talking about, just take, if you want to, I'll show you.
Okay.
All I'm just saying is, I think they did a great job, but at the same time, we need to tighten up on that.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
John, we got any plan to patch though?
The only cross cut we did on our portion was there at A, right across from the Port Liquors. And that actually is going to get removed with the extension, you know, down from Avenue A to D. So we put a temporary patch back. Once we remove that and continue down the highway, that will get patched back permanently. It's just, you know, from a timing perspective, you don't want to patch it now and tear it back out.
I guess whatever y'all putting down there, I'm just saying, it's just like when it rains, have a bad day when it rains or
The
whatever.
road there by the port, yeah, it has sunk in.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No matter,
We'll take a look, Mr. Farmer, and see if we can do something.
yeah, that's all I'm saying. My main thing is just the safety of anybody who drive there, whatever, and you know, and gets dumped and hit real, you know, mess up their tires or whatever, or the car, might somebody get in a wreck. I don't know. It's all about safety.
Appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Someone in the back?
Yes. All right. Give me a little time, I'll get it back. Okay, I'm Lisa Matthews, and live on 312 Avenue F. I just have a little input on the beautification of Martin Luther King.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to make sure you put some garbage some garbage cans down so that it won't be, all the trash won't be all over the place. You have a few, but it's really not quite enough.
Okay.
Okay, think about that when you're putting in for your monies.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
How much are those garbage cans?
We may have a couple shop. Commissioner, let me look at that and see if we can get them out. We don't have any benches.
We did have a few of them down there before, though, did we have some before, Jim?
There was, and there's still a few now, but we can look at what we have in inventory.
Okay. Some benches?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can price some out.
Okay. I appreciate
The next item we have, Mayor, is a reference to new business CCR report. This is the Consumer Confidence Report. This is the report that we submit out every year to the public. This shows the quality of water that we are producing in the city of Port St. Joe. That is there on pages 5 through 8. It's available at City Hall and on our website. As you can see, I would, Mr. McClellan, if he wants to elaborate on it, but we have actually passed everything in the city, so kudos to city staff there, Mr. McClellan, Mr. Cranmer, for the work being done in the water department. The next item we have is a reference to a special event permit. The Junior Service League is asking to close off a portion of 3rd Street between Reed and Williams for a paint party. I believe I saw Miss Gerald Horton was here earlier, I think. Somebody was here. I don't see her now. Anyways, they're just asking for that one evening to close off a portion of the road. I know we've had concerns about traffic and parking, but they just want to close it off one afternoon, Mayor, with permission.
Who's the paint party for?
The Junior Service League is actually going to be doing it for the kids.
For the kids there?
Yeah. They're going to put a tent on the road and have an event there.
Okay.
So if y'all are okay with it, we'll move forward.
Sound good? Yes, sir.
Sounds good to me.
The next item we have is in reference to Jones Homestead Sewer. As indicated at the last meeting, we did get some good news that we can move forward with the potential 55 customers that we have on board. One item that we do need to address is we have a few customers that do not have public utilities for water. Everybody else, we utilize reading the meters for the lighthouse, and we do the billing directly for each gallon used. In your code, you do have what's called an ERC, equivalent residential connection, which is 300 gallons per day. Staff recommendation is that until the folks decide to come onto a public utility, that you just utilize what you currently have in your code for billing, which is 300 gallons per day. Said I think you have, what, 3 or 4 customers? There's not many, but we do need to come up with a way to bill them there. So our recommendation is to use your one ERC, which is 300 gallons per day for your billing until those folks come onto a public utility.
They're willing to come on the sewer.
Yes.
So do they know that they're gonna have something?
We've told them we have to, first we've got to make a decision as to whether we're going to allow it, which I think we were on board that we want to, staff, and it sounds like that as well. But the concern is that we've got to figure out a fee for them, because we don't have a way to measure per gallon.
And that sounds like the minimum.
What it would be is, let's say if you decided on the ERC, yes, they'd have a flat fee every single month. You have a base rate, plus you would charge them for the usage. So you'd have the base rate of this $30-something for the water base rate, and then you would charge them for 9,000 gallons, would that be if you charge 300 per day?
And that's the same rate structure as everyone else on our system pays.
It is the same, but the difference is everybody else pays per gallon.
Sure. Yeah, but you can't measure it with
But everything
they're
else
not
we-
using water. That makes sense.
But with y'all's blessing, that's what we'll do, if that's the wish of the board.
Need a motion?
Yes, sir, because that is setting a fee, so yes, we will need.
Okay, I'll make a motion.
I've got a motion from Commissioner Brazil.
I'll say.
Second from Commissioner Lowry. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries 4-0. All right.
All right, and we are moving along with the project. We put together the bid specs and working on that to move forward on. The next item we have is in reference to the planning board. Mayor Patterson want to talk to you tonight about it.
Yes, I wanted to bring that up tonight because, well, I had an impression that a person had been put on that board the last time we reviewed it, and evidently that didn't happen. But I want to get some kind of criteria to, if people miss 2 or 3 meetings in a row, because to be very honest with you, when we redid this planning board, I asked the question of who had not attended the most. And I was thinking that person was coming on and another person was going on, but evidently that person did not get taken off. And as I'm looking at the sheet here, we've had 3 meetings this year and that person's made 1 of them. I mean, you know, we love volunteers, but if you want to volunteer, you need to show up. So, I don't know, I was just wondering how the other members felt. I mean, I know the intentions didn't happen this way. Of course, there was some more problems on the applicants not filling out the application correctly like it should have been. But I want us to make some kind of thing here where, you know, we can dissolve members if we want to. Like I say, they're volunteers, they don't get paid a dime, but yet when you volunteer for something, you ought to show up when you have a meeting. Or just say, listen, I don't want to be on this board.
Absolutely. And volunteers that are willing to be there, you know? I mean, we've got to have them there.
Yes.
There's time after time that you get someone that they just can't constantly make the meeting. So, yeah, I completely understand.
Absolutely. I agree too, but can, in this case, maybe short of coming up with some kind of rule or regulation or ordinance or whatever, in this case, could we get the city manager to write a letter to the individual and say, you know, we've noticed you missed X number of meetings, or you are still interested in serving, blah, blah, blah. Because, I mean, we just reappointed the individual last October.
We appointed one.
Yeah. For another 3 years.
10-17, and then we appointed 3 other ones that said they were willing to serve again.
Another 3-year term.
But one of those was supposed to come off, but it didn't happen that way, and I don't know what to say about that.
So I guess to be fair to that individual, I maybe, what do y'all think about a letter saying, are you still interested in serving? We need members that are gonna be at meetings, because many times they don't have a quorum or what have you. I don't know, and I don't know if PDRB has, and I should know, but I don't know if they have any kind of bylaws themselves that govern their members.
Right.
There's nothing, no bylaws for the PDRB. It's all the pleasure of the city. Yeah.
Well, I just want everybody to be thinking about that. You know, we do have people that will volunteer. And you hate to turn down a person that says they'll volunteer and leave somebody on the board that don't never attend the meetings. That's just plain and
I
simple.
agree. And I thought too, there was one, I always thought for sure there was one individual that we approved to be on there.
We did, and then there was a few problems with the application being turned in and things like that. And I think that threw the whole thing upside down some way, somewhat too.
I kind of don't feel like that's right in a way.
Yeah. I don't know.
Whatever y'all want to do.
I think right now, we ought to just kind of table this and think about it and see what can be done. As I say, that one individual that not having a problem coming to the meetings, we need to get in contact with him and say, you know, we have individuals that want to volunteer for this board, and, you know, we want people to volunteer that's going to attend. We understand sometimes, but when you only, I don't remember what it was last year, but it was a lot of time. They were half the time they missed meetings. And that's not wanting to be a volunteer, in my opinion. That's all. So anyway, let's look at this.
Could we add one?
How many we got on there right now?
7.
We got 9 now.
You got seven. Seven.
Whoa, where'd I go wrong?
That's, I
You're
think.
counting
that's
someone
all.
who's not on there.
Oh, this is the old one?
Yeah.
We got 7?
When you find, you just find yourself in a jam sometimes, come up with
What
four.
a quorum.
I don't have a problem with that.
How many has to be on?
You know.
You can have as many as you want.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the person that we thought we would put in on the board, if they are still willing to want to serve on the board, that we should make some kind of motion to put them on the board.
Now, what is this board contain?
This is your planning board that everybody goes to for the,
Variances, special exceptions, subdivisions.
Makes recommendations to this board.
you know, make recommendations to the board, they're like an advisory board on planning and stuff. If people want to get exemptions from the setbacks and things like that, or hardship, they go before them.
Okay.
So,
Are they volunteers?
Yes.
ma'am,
We
Are they
have,
volunteers to be
we
on
have
this?
one, we have one person that volunteers, but we haven't put them on this board yet.
Are the rest paid?
They're all volunteers.
They're all volunteers, yes,
Then
ma'am.
Mike recommended giving them a stipend at least for gas.
That's pretty smart.
No, we're not volunteers.
Pretty smart, yeah. I like that.
So, do we want to add a person?
I disagree with that.
I mean, we really thought, I think the majority
Mr.
of
Mayor.
us. Yes, ma'am.
May I say something? When we went through this a few months ago, the question came up, and with 8 people, if you had a split vote, the consensus was to leave it at 7. When a vacancy occurred, the list of names that you were given, the application we received, the people who applied, remember we advertised in the paper for volunteers, we had a public notice, and then the discussion came up because of the 8, we do have a problem getting a quorum. Every PDRB meeting, I have to call, are you coming? Are you gonna be able to join us? And if you look at that list, you've got several who've missed the same amount of time. So that was the discussion, and that was what was in the minutes of 10/17/2017. You know, the ones that were added, approved by the board. But that was the consensus then. The next time a vacancy came up, someone from that list would be selected.
You just decided to take it to 7. That's basically what you say. few months ago.
I'm fine adding one. And the only reason why is because you're always gonna have someone not there.
Yep.
That's the reason why.
You can have a split vote anyway.
Anyway.
Sure.
6 people should show up.
It's 6.
Absolutely.
But if you have 8, we're gonna have 5. And some days we do good to get
Oh,
full.
agreed. Yeah.
That's why we took it to
Create
7.
another problem. You can't get a quorum now in 7 sometimes, you can't get 4 to show up. So now you're saying we get 5.
Add two more, is that what you said?
No, no, it's just,
Some kind of incentive?
Right though. If you go to 9,
yeah, because you could still, yeah.
still 5 would be more.
That's 5 would be a quorum, but 8 or 9.
8 or 9, then you
Yeah,
got
I
that.
just think, do you want to advertise again, ask for 2 more, if we're going to 9?
I feel like we got half the people in the pot.
Yeah, what have we got? We got Ms. Luther, and we got Charles Cowers, and David Alvarez. Is that what I'm reading right?
Yes, sir.
Vacancy occurred, okay. Then you got to choose 2 of those guys if you go to 9.
Y'all wanna do two?
So we gotta be out of these 3?
You got to choose 2 out of those 3 that already, to make a 9 board now.
And are we still sure they want to do it?
Yeah.
This is
Yeah,
really
that's
bad.
All right, why don't we say, we advertise it,
Yeah.
we're gonna put 2 more people on, that'll give us a total of 9. And everybody that wants to be this volunteer, be sure and turn in the proper paperwork,
On time.
on time.
Do you think it's fair though to the ones that's already?
Well, I don't know, as far as I'm concerned, we'll pick 2 out of these 3. I'll be
That's
fine
the
with it.
reason why I say I just don't feel it's fair to those ones that already put
Already
their
been
name.
told,
Already put
open
their
it
name.
up again.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be in the Thursday paper,
No,
next
sir.
Thursday?
No, next week.
For the next
It'll
one.
be next week.
Next week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What's
Y'all
the
wanna
pleasure
do
of
it?
the board?
I feel like you already have 3. I mean, why we have to wait
I
so
don't know
long?
why we just need to name 2 out of these 3 in my book.
I wanna hear when this
No, you want to
went
hear me?
down, but, I'm just looking at
What names we got? We got Ms. Luther.
We got Ms. Lisa Matthews, we got Charles Gathers, and David Alvarez. I don't know David.
He lives, corner of 12th and Long, I believe.
I think Ms. Letha will do a pretty good job herself.
I agree.
She's certainly here, that's for sure.
Yes,
always
you
makes
won't
space.
have to worry about missing a meeting. Missing that.
She'll be there. All right, so, somebody make a motion to name 2 of these 3. So I have to pass the chair if I do it, but I'll do it. Nobody else wants to make the motion.
I'm making a motion to add Ms. Letha Matthews and David Alvarez.
All right, we got a motion on the floor. We have a second.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Second,
Add
Ms.
those
O'Leary.
2 to the planning board.
All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. We got 2 new members. David Alvarez and Ms. Lisa Matthews. Now, they still need to get an application in if they don't have one in.
No,
They
already
have
turned
one.
them in.
Yeah.
They already turned them in, didn't
I'm not sure.
they? Right, yeah, it's got a date down there, Mayor. Is that the date they turned the application in, Ms. Charlotte?
10/24, 11/15, and 11/21.
Case received to be considered.
Yeah, it said application received to be considered vacancy.
Mayor, one thing to consider too is everybody right now is serving under a 3-year term that started on 11/5/2016. Or they got 3-year terms. And they all started in November of each year. Do we want to say their term starts from today for a 3-year term, or how's their term going to work, I guess?
I'd say for a 3-year term, would be good.
Effective today?
Yep. So will it be staggered? We did all in favor yet? We did 4, right?
We did.
All right. Keep me straight.
You guys let them know then.
The next item we have is a reference to golf carts. Mayor Patterson want to talk to you tonight about.
Again, golf carts. I think we need to have a workshop on golf carts. My idea is we need golf carts inspected on a regular basis, whether it be 2 years, 3 years, whatever it may be. We have people driving these things around town, they're supposed to have all the safety equipment, turn signals, lights, windshield wipers, all that good stuff, brakes, and we don't know what they got. And I think if we brought them in like once every 3 years and did an inspection, and as I said in your office, I don't mind doing the inspection. We'll set up a couple of days for them to bring them in. I'll stand there and go through that checklist myself. I'll make the time to do that. But I think they need to be, and I think everybody needs to know the rules of driving golf carts. Because there's a terrible problem in this town. Terrible. I mean, what do? I'll tell you what we do, we step it up and put fines on the ones that are letting the 13-year-old children ride a golf cart all over town. They're letting them ride them on the golf path. We don't even supposed to have anything motorized.
There's already, isn't there a state statute for that? I mean,
well, I don't think our people know it. We've got rules for golf carts, right, Jim? Yeah. Well, if you can, how about put one of them with one of our boxes so we can look it over? And I think we ought to have a workshop, bring in as many of them as we can. And the ones that don't show up at the workshop, send them a letter saying we had a workshop, and these are the new rules for golf carts. And I think inspection is very important.
Yeah, you just change the color of the sticker every 3 years. So
Yeah, and charge a minimum fee, something, $20.
Excuse me?
Just gotta renew your registration.
Yeah. So every 3 years, you have to renew your registration and get a inspection done on the golf cart. But we need to have it utilized where everybody kind of coming around the same time instead of one today. And we need to set a day and say, this is your day to have your golf cart inspected. We'll do it at so-and-so location.
Give them a week.
Give them a week.
30-day period or something within each year.
What about the tourists that bring their golf carts down?
They're the same way. They got to register those golf carts.
How will they know?
We have the contact information.
They have to go register and drive them on our streets.
Yeah, they have to register and drive them on the street. Now, how they would know, I would think, Ms. Palace, anybody that comes in here that's been driving a golf cart would probably know they gotta have something. They just can't bring it, jump in and start riding.
And,
I would hope.
That would be nice, that they would, you would think that they would do that, but that's
Right.
not necessarily the case.
The golf cart rental companies in town
I've seen them on lawnmowers.
should tell them.
Yeah.
Who don't know about lawnmowers?
Yeah,
Don't know about that, please.
But like I said, I just want us all to get to thinking about golf carts and somewhere in the near future, make a decision on what we're gonna do as far as safety on them and educating the golf cart people as to, you can't ride on Monument. You can't ride on Long. You can't ride on Garrison. Now I say you can't ride, I mean, you're only supposed to go as far as you need to go to get to another street to go down. And people, they ride them all the way down Long Avenue from downtown to the high school or whatever. And so I just think we need to do something to bring it in line.
You got little kids driving.
Yeah. So we gotta do something, and let's just be thinking about it. Jim, keep it on the agenda, if you don't mind.
That's true, man.
Mayor, I have it's not a golf cart, it's a roadworthy four-wheel.
It's a what?
It's called a roadworthy four-wheel electric car.
Is it, can you drive it on the street?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, you might have to have a sticker for it.
That's like going on the beach, I have a sticker there too.
Yes, ma'am? Yes, ma'am. You have to,
I already signed up.
I know, you don't have to sign, you won't have to sign again, I promise.
When I was at the sheriff's office, I picked up a brochure because I was just curious about the whole golf cart thing. Being from the north, this is totally new. The county brochure says you can ride it. This is a golf cart friendly county and you can ride a golf cart on any street that has a speed limit of 35 miles an hour or less, which is Long and Garrison.
But you're in the city.
Okay, so then you really do have to do some real good public education because that's the only brochure I've ever seen about it.
Do we have something we give them when they purchase their permit here?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. We go and do, when the police department goes and actually does an inspection, we give them a little pamphlet that has all the rules and regulations as they pertain to the city.
Okay. You also need to enforce it because people ride on the walking path.
I know, I've seen it. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you're right about that.
All right.
The next item, Mayor, is in reference to Resolution 2018-03, Affirmative Action Equal Opportunity Policy. Did have a conversation with Mr. Pat Howard. This is part of our CDBG grant obligation on there. Look at your handout. We do need to get this passed so we can close out our CDBG grant. So we do need a motion to get this approved.
So moved.
Got a motion of Commissioner Lowry?
Second.
Second, Commissioner. You second it? Second, Langston. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Now, yes, we did.
That's all I have, Mayor.
All right. John.
Mayor, I do not have anything. I'm stuttering. Trying to wake up.
You sure?
I don't have anything this evening unless the board has questions for me.
I've got a comment for John. The fence around the train looks fantastic. It looks nice. Now, you
I know where you're
what I'm
going.
say.
Yep.
We need to seriously look at getting that train painted. It's, unless we want to have a nice fence around a bucket of rust, we really seriously need to look at that. So,
Good price.
so do you guys want to go out for bid for having that train painted and at the same time, research it and get a little history behind it so we get a plaque that goes out there right in front of the fence and folks look at it. They can say it was built in such and such a year, it was moved to that spot in 1950 something, I think, and because there's a little plaque on the very front of it, you have to have binoculars to read it. So we need it. But I think it looks great, John, and but I would like to see us go out for bid, get an idea of what it costs to paint it. Been a good project for the Auburn students, but they've done a lot of good already in town.
Just for painting, or do you want to, the reason I asked is I had to reset the little steam stack Monday. It was actually fell over, it rusted, and so there's probably a few things we need to, tighten up on that too, just beyond paint.
Yeah, I don't know how we're
Just
gonna,
look at it.
I don't know how we're gonna bid that out, that part out.
point
Unless
is
we wanna just
prepared.
get Tommy Knox welding class to spot weld some of those problem areas. But let's try to do the paint thing first, and then I'll get with you and we'll see about that.
Yeah, I think we spent about $4,000 in 2005 or 6 to pressure wash and paint it with a heavy-duty paint.
Yeah, and it's lasted, it's done good, but
All right. Anything else for John?
Uh,
Questions? Anything else for John?
we need a motion to go out for bid for that.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to go out and bid for paint the train.
Make a motion to Commissioner Brazette. Have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Langston makes a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. All right. Larry.
Mr. Mayor, I really don't have anything either, but I'll answer any questions you have.
Anybody have any questions for Larry? All right. Mike McClure.
We have signed up 21 of those 55 customers in Jones Homestead that we've actually received the payments. We're still actively signing up the others, and we'll keep that process moving. But I don't have anything else unless the board has any questions for me.
I'm glad that worked out. Really.
Kevin.
I have nothing for the commission unless you guys have questions.
Y'all must be ready to go home.
You fully staffed now?
Yes.
Fully staffed, all right, good.
Doing well.
All right, well, thank you. Come on up there, Mr. Engineer.
Yes, sir. Good. I'll try to keep it somewhat brief, but I do need to go over, talk about Long Avenue a little bit. And so we've been working the last 6 weeks or so on putting together a facilities plan. So just kind of a real quick recap. You know, you got your road bond money and some money the city has budgeted for Long Avenue. And so the project kind of started off being envisioned as a water line replacement, resurfacing the road, and kind of as we got into it and then discussion with the city and staff, it's kind of grown into, hey, we need to take care of the sewer while we're there too. So you probably have enough money to do resurface the road, put in the water line. If you want to tackle the sewer, which we all agree needs to be done, you need some outside funding. And so the state revolving fund is one of those sources, and it's a pretty decent source. And so that's kind of, there's 3 things you need to kind of get through the SRF application period. One is a facilities plan. And I'll explain what that is. 2 is you need the design drawing submitted to them. They need to approve that. And then 3, ask them for the construction money. And so facilities plan is this document. We're ready to discuss it at the city tonight. And this is the purpose, is to have this public hearing. When I get done, you'll ask for public comment after y'all's comment period or whenever you want to do it too. But essentially a facilities plan identifies your need, and then it gives you 3 alternatives on how to possibly address that need. So in this case, it's addressing the sewer on Long Avenue. And just the age of it, the gravity that's there, and the force main that's there, the age of it needs to be replaced or rehab. One of those 2 is really your 2 options. So the 3 options in this plan essentially say, option number 1, alternative number 1 would be to rehab the sewer that's there, the gravity sewer that's there. That would be, there's a dollar amount with that. I'm gonna use whole numbers to make it easier, but it's about $1 million to rehab the sewer that's from 19th to 1st Street. That's where it's under the road. From 19th out towards elementary school, it's not under the road. Okay, it's actually over in the paved ditch, but we're talking about the part that's under the road. That's the sewer we're talking about. So that's one alternative. Second alternative included not slit lining that, but actually replacing it. So digging up the road, digging up the sewer, putting in new pipes, new laterals, and then of course building the road back. You know, that's not a resurface at that point on the road. That's to tear the road up and build the road back. So that one's more expensive to do. That's about $1.8 million. The third alternative, very similar to number 2, it includes replacing the gravity sewer, replacing the force mains. And again, this is from 19th to 1st Street. And then also it would include replacing the 1st Street lift station. That's something that's been talked about briefly. It's not critical to repaving Long Avenue, but it's something that in the future you're going to have to tackle. So that would be kind of the third alternative if you wanted to take on that lift station as well as part of this. And that is about $2.7 million. And so the recommendation we have in here is to go with alternative number 3, which would include replacing that lift station. That's the purpose of the discussion tonight. If you want to go a different route, that can be changed. That's just the way it's stated today. Couple things. So you have, currently the city has, there's 2 sides to the state revolving fund. There's a water side and a wastewater side. Currently you have an open water funding agreement with SRF. The wastewater side, the reason we're applying on the wastewater side, they offer a higher forgiveness loan rate. So take out forgiveness loan, call it grant. They offer a higher grant rate. And so as this is submitted, if it's approved, the low end of their range is a 70% forgiveness loan. So 70% grant is kind of how that would work. So the $2.7 million, assuming this is approved, 70% of that on the low end would be grant. So you're not taking on 2.7 in debt. It would be 30% of that. That's kind of how that works. But that's the low end. It could be a little higher. We'll find that out as the application moves through their process. So facilities plan gets submitted. They have hearings every quarter, so they have 4 a year. That's the state revolving fund, that's 4 a year. Facilities plan gets submitted. It gets reviewed by them and approved, and then it gets on their agenda whenever their next agenda is. In a perfect world, their next meeting is coming up in May. We'd love to be on that agenda, have them discuss this plan, and then assuming it's approved, we turn around and get design documents to them. Hopefully by the end of this year, November or so of this year, to be ready to be on their February meeting in 2019. And then that would be the meeting you would ask for the construction money. And so that's kind of the timeline after that. As soon as it's approved after that, you move forward with actual construction of the project. So quick recap, again, the 2.7 that you're talking about that is in this facilities plan is for the gravity sewer replacement from 1st to 19th, replacing the force mains that are under that road, rebuilding the road back in that stretch, and the First Street lift station. And then you still have, in addition to that, you still have your road bond and your budgeted money to take care of the water line, take care of any storm, that may need to be done, and also the road between 19th and Madison, which we talked about resurfacing also. So you still got some costs with the road there that you would need. So big picture, that's the things that we needed to go over tonight. Certainly comments or questions from y'all, comments or questions from the public. If you get to the point you're ready to move forward, there is a resolution that I think the staff has, I don't know if you've seen it, the Dream City, but it's a resolution, that's how you would approve this facilities plan, is through that resolution. That would be the vote. Any questions?
I definitely like the idea. You guys know that I've tried to spearhead this project from the get-go, but the second part to it was the First Street lift station. We know that's an issue, so I'm fine with bundling it all in. The one question I have, what is the dollar amount? Let's take the 70%, for example. Have you ran the number with the dollar amount based on our 1.4 that we do have currently to do the whole project, and then what we will owe in the future?
Yes, sort of, I think.
I just like to know everything, and I want the public to know everything from the get-go.
Sure.
Because I know I'm gonna get questions.
If we do, I just ran it in my head, if we do everything he said on the item number 3, we'd have to borrow about $810,000. That's round figures, and I could be wrong, I think that's
probably about right.
And we would borrow that money from SRF at what % interest?
So 4.25, I believe it is.
I thought it was like 1 or 2%.
It's a little better than that. It's 1.66 right now.
And that's, I mean,
it's gonna
good
fluctuate
Lord,
before you close it
I
out.
mean, that's about like getting free money. I think that's a no-brainer to me.
This year we budgeted an extra 400, right?
That's correct,
Yes.
yeah.
And you've got another budget cycle coming up, so that's the thing, we don't know what it's gonna look like coming into it, but
Yeah.
hopefully we
I feel
can add more onto it, hopefully.
Yeah.
But now, they do want us, even if we had the money to pay the 800 and something thousand, they don't want you to do that, do they? Will they allow that?
There's no penalty.
There's no
penalty.
I thought they, okay.
So maybe kind of what you're asking, if you didn't pay it off and, went out with the loan, and say a 20-year loan kind of thing, the annual debt service on that is about $50,000. And it's using rough numbers for what you would need to borrow about it, assuming 70% rate and all that. So maybe that helps. If you don't end up paying it off, that's what you're looking at is $50,000 a year.
I definitely don't want any long-term debt. And I know we can afford it.
What I would suggest is that you go out there and try to see what you can get. When these terms come back, you're still going to go through the process of signing loan documents, all that good stuff. We need to find out exactly how much money they would give us, the terms of those, to be able to come back at it. But I would go ahead and recommend trying to get as much as you could to be able to, if you can get a grant for 70%.
Yeah. Awesome. And it's probably going to be greater than that.
It goes up as high as 90. I don't want to tell you those numbers. I mean, I'd rather take 70% numbers. But I mean, 10% of 2.7 is a big, it is a big difference if it goes up.
Yeah. I'm for moving forward.
Yes, sir. Let's make the most of it.
What about you guys?
Mayor,
We need to call for a
Mayor, we
public
need to do
hearing.
a couple, yes, we need to call for a public hearing on it, and then we actually have the resolution in your package for your review.
Gonna do that right now. Call for the public hearing. Anyone in the audience wish to address what we're talking about here? paving the roads, tearing up stuff. All right. All right, what's next?
Make a motion to adopt resolution 202.
Make a motion to adopt resolution 2018-02, Long Avenue, SRF Facilities Plan.
Got a motion from Commissioner Brazil,
I'll be glad to second.
second Commissioner Lowry. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries forward.
Thank you. The only other thing I had was the boat ramp, and I apologize, I haven't been down there. I hadn't signed off on the paper list either, so, but I'll get down there. They told me they finished. I'll go look.
Clay, appreciate your help on that. And I know you put a lot of time into it. It means a lot to me, and I know the rest of the guys and the citizens, because they want that road.
No, sir. It's a major artery to all the
Absolutely.
schools. And Clay, while you're up there, I wanna thank you as a member of the city's, on 10th Street. Thank you for all the work you do. You've done everything that the committee asked you to do. You made a nice conceptual plan, and look forward to us doing great things for this project, wherever it is.
Thank you. I do too. Thank you. I appreciate it. Happy to do it.
Appreciate it.
Thank y'all.
All right, thank you, Clay. Police department.
Well, I have to work till 3 in the morning, so I will give you an update, but they basically just, we just wanted to say that 2 Saturdays ago, we went ahead and had our family fun day. Once again, big success. Everybody loved it. We had a lot of families coming out, a lot of children coming out and all. They spent a lot of time there and things. So just want to shout out, thank you again to local businesses, organizations such as the Lions Club. John Grantland with Public Works made it all possible as well with having bleachers and things out there, so people really got to spend the day with us. And it went over really well, and we look forward to next year doing it again.
Good deal. Any questions from the police department? All right. The city clerk.
Yes, we have several things. I believe in your packet, page 10, you have the election notice, the information provided for that. In speaking with the supervisor of elections today, I believe 4 individuals have expressed an interest in a position with the city commission. The books open tomorrow, to qualify, open tomorrow through the following Wednesday at noon. Next item would be the SHPO funding. As you were mentioning earlier, I did speak with Eric Case with State Historic Preservation this morning. The budget allowed for a little over $2 million in funding. It runs through project number 6 about halfway, so number 7 and number 8 did not make it, which was Port Theater and the City of Port St. Joe. The small category as well as the special category open on April 1 if you want to go back and do it, apply again. But unless something changes with the ones ahead of us, we do not have anything in the budget this year for us. And ethics training, we received something today for those of you who have not had your training. We have the Northwest Florida League of Cities free ethics training opportunities. If you will see me, I can get you a copy of this. I believe we have 2 that I'm aware of that have completed ethics training for this year. There may be more, but right now I'm aware of 2. So.
That's ain't me either.
Okay. And I believe that takes care of it.
That's it. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
And I didn't mean to go by the code enforcement. I'm sure everybody's getting a report from Richie. The only thing on there that I look at is the unlawful accumulation at an increase of 24. So I guess he needs to work that one real hard, get that number down some. All right. At this time, are there any citizens in the audience that wish to be heard? Come on up, ma'am.
I just have a quick question. It's
All right.
You're calling a golf cart. Mine's not a golf cart, but anyway, it's got 4 little wheels. Where, if you're going to impose an inspection, which I think is good to educate people and all.
You might have to come up so everybody can hear you.
Oh, goodness gracious.
I know.
I said, I think it's good to educate people about who should be driving those golf carts and so on. And maybe an inspection is a good idea, and that's a way to educate. My question is, the money that you collect, where will it go?
Well, that would be decided. Where's the money there now when they pay for a permit?
Goes to your general fund, it's a lifetime permit, so you figure you only have less than 200, and I think they're $35 a piece. It's not a bunch of money.
Okay, then if it's in the general fund, then how do you know how it's spent? Is it a matter of public record, what the money's spent in the general fund, like it is with the county?
Oh, yes.
Is it? So who do you go to find out how it's been spent?
The website, tell her that?
I don't go on the website.
Maybe that gentleman right over there one day.
We can give you a copy of, we can give you a copy of the financial statements. It won't specifically identify that revenue as, it just goes into our general operating fund.
I understand the general fund, but see, a general fund, it loses where it goes after it turns into that pot of general fund.
Certainly, I have financial statements
It's not
that show
designated to
you
go
what's
anywhere.
coming out of the fund.
Okay, okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? Anyone else? All right. Mr. Langston, I think we'll start with you tonight.
I appreciate everybody coming out, the neighbors coming out, giving us an opinion about MLK and the things that need to be done over there on that side, but also, I'd like to thank the commissioner that's behind me on this MLK thing. I appreciate it. And that's about it.
That's it. All right, Commissioner Lowry.
I don't have anything.
I don't have nothing. Commissioner Brazil.
A quick one, Mayor, piggybacking on what Ms. Pierce just said, and everybody knows we didn't get the grant for the Centennial Building, and I'd like to see us reapply for that grant in this next grant cycle. And we were close this year. I believe third time will be a charm. So I would like to see us leave that $50,000 that we already earmarked for that match. No, excuse me, it's not 50, it's about 35, round figures 35. And I would like to see us go after it again. And Ms. Pierce, when is that due?
It opens April 1, but we're going to probably need a resolution and most likely a motion to do this again to show that we had the approval of the board.
Okay, is it all right with the board to go after that again?
I'm fine with rolling over that 35.
Yeah, and so we'll need, I guess, next meeting, a resolution. Yeah, thank y'all for that. It's important for the city. Anybody was at the Sportsman Bank last Thursday night, that's just one of many big things that we have there, and it was well received. Halsey and Shears were there, it was there, and I asked him what in the, pardon my words, what in the world we're gonna have to do to get money to fix that place up. So he knows we're pretty much after him for that. That's all, man.
That's it. I'd just like to thank everybody that's here tonight. We always like to have the input from our citizens. We wish the citizens to come to more meetings to keep well informed. We appreciate you being here. And Seminoles in the Sweet 16. I got one more thing. I got to ask this question. It's been asking me every day just about. Brazil, are you running?
I've
been asked a lot of times.